Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Finance Public Service Overview and Scrutiny Panel. Welcome one and all. We begin with the evacuation procedure. A fire drill is not expected, so if the alarm sounds, please evacuate the building quickly and calmly. Please use the stairs, do not use the lifts. Once out of the building, please gather outside the Virgin Money building, formerly the Yorkshire Bank, on the opposite side of the road. Exit by the door by which you entered the room or by the fire exits, which are clearly indicated by the standard green fire signs. If you need any assistance in evacuating the building, please make yourself known to a member of staff. Please also make sure your mobile phones are turned off or set to silent. The meeting is being recorded and will be published on the Council's YouTube channel in due course. Moving on to apologies, I have apologies from Councillor Clark and I have apologies from Councillor Hammersley, who's been substituted by Councillor Green. Thank you, Councillor Green. Moving on to the minutes of the last meeting, which circulated prior. Everybody happy with the minutes of the meeting, and am I okay to sign the minutes? Thank you. Thank you. So we move on to declarations of interest. Has anybody got any interest to declare that are not in the schedule? Councillor Down.
I've got a limited company with my wife, Little Caesars Donuts. That's not on the schedule for some reason, even though the paperwork is in. And I have got a contract with the council for a market pitch. I'm a market trader. So there you go.
Okay, can you hear me now? Good, thank you. Right. Moving on to item 5, public consultation. I see we have some members have registered to speak on items 7, 8 and 9. I'll call you at the start of those items to speak. Councillor Condacor, I've asked you at the start, prior to the start of the meeting, to please move to the gallery. I would ask you to do that before you speak. If you don't move to the gallery, I will not let you speak. So, Councillor, you're here as a member of the public. You cannot make a point of clarification. Moving on to the 20 minutes we've set aside for questions to Cabinet. Does any member have any questions for the Cabinet? Councillor Wright.
The could we have a clarification of the provisional budget set aside for the renaming of part of Coton Road?
I understand the Green Party have been complaining about this. I don't know why, because it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's a rather wonderful expression of civic pride and a very fitting way to mark the coronation of His Majesty King Charles, particularly in the place where the crowds gathered to hear him proclaimed king last September. I would refer him to the fact that we allocated £20,000 in the budget in February to celebrate the coronations, which have not yet been allocated. We have not yet published the celebration plans, so I would refer him to that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Croft. Do we have any further questions? Councillor Wright.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. I mean, wouldn't a more suitable commemoration be to name a new structure after His Majesty, rather than renaming an existing, or rather part of an existing road, with all the hassle and expense that will involve?
Chairman, because we believe that it's important that the monarchy and...
We really can't hear it back. We're here to listen to you and pay attention. We'd love to hear you.
I do tend to mumble sometimes. Is that better? Fantastic. My answer to the question is no, because we believe that it's fitting that the monarchy and our traditions are commemorated at the very heart of civic life. As I say, it's the patch of land where the crowds gathered to hear the proclamation of the Jubilee and of the accession, and where the army parades on Freeman of the Borough Day. If we were to name something new, we would have to do it in the outskirts of the borough, a new housing estate or something like that, and we don't think that would be appropriate for such an important occasion.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further questions for Cabinet? Early night for you guys then. Thank you very much for your attendance. Moving on to item 7, the Waste Management Performance Report. I see we have some speakers listed. The first speaker is Mr. Smith. Could you have... We'll get the microphone to you very shortly. In which case, I'll tell you, we will take the report first. Ready when you are, Glenn. Ready when you are.
Hello. Are you able to hear me at the back? Yeah. Okay, I'll certainly try and speak a little bit louder then. Right, yeah. Okay, I'll try and speak a bit louder. If I may, before I start, my name's Glenn McGrandle. I'm the Head of Waste and Transport for Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council, presenting the Waste Management Performance Report. And before I start, I'd like to do a little bit of housekeeping, if I may. Because of the number of draft reports that we have circulating at any one time, unfortunately, some of the detail on the opening page is it's wrong, basically. So if I would be allowed, I can certainly circulate the updated one to all members on the back of that. So the first page of the presentation is our total household waste for the 3 services, the curbside services that we offer in the borough. Principally the household waste, our dry recycling, and the garden food waste composition. I think on the basis that the clear sort of standout piece of data that looks that's presented at 21-22 is the lowering of statistics and presentation of the figures. With regards to the garden waste reduction, we have no real reasoning for that. We're assuming that obviously presentation went down, and of that presentation we feel that because of some of the hot weather that we had last year meant that what waste was being presented was of a drier nature, and therefore lowering the tonnages that we presented. I've had conversations with Andrew Power at Warwick County, and we cannot sort of substantiate why that's the case. However, it was borne out that the latest Warwickshire Waste partnership, that all local authorities in the partnership have a lowering of the garden waste for last year. So we're just really representative. Sorry, it's my finger. The household waste sort of reduction in what we've collected we can only put that down to one of two things. Well, certainly the lowering of economy, where people aren't buying as much as they used to, and therefore just not throwing as much waste away that you know that they were previously. With regards to our dry recycling, we had a number of reasons why we felt that this was a lower figure. We had the strike at Coventry early last year, which impacted significantly on the service. Although they did a really good job in keeping the service running, we were using contract staff that weren't as knowledgeable and weren't as experienced, and therefore not only were they unable to pick out contamination as best as good as the normal recycling collectors, that had an impact on the amount of material that we were losing, and the fact that we put additional crews out to help the strike, sort of the material that was left to keep the residents their recycling collection going. So you know we did our best, but that's probably reflective in the lowering of our recycling tonnage figures. Our garden waste figures, again, the take up on the data is fairly consistent. I would like to clarify that the 2023 data, as you can see, was entered in error. We have fairly consistent take up subscription rates for the service. And the actual current figure for 23 from October to the current time is 20,319 stickers. So we're looking at that to certainly increase going through the year, and being fairly reflective of the other figures that we've had in 22 and 21 and 20. So late October 2022, we undertook a review of clinical collections, because we felt that we certainly had one of the highest collection customers in Warwickshire Partnership, and we found that once we had undertook this questionnaire, we were able to reduce the service by 100 collections per week. We will be continuing to undertake this review, because we're fairly certain that some of the clinical collections that we collect are able to be sort of disposed of in the normal household waste collection route. And this is borne out by some of the figures that shows the collections and the tonnages are down for clinical waste. Recycling income share. This is again just an indicative slide that shows how volatile recycling markets are, and that how it can have an impact on any income sort of profit that we get. So if you just look at as an example, mixed plastic in Q1, it was £282 per tonne, and in Q3 that was £502.50 per tonne. In Q4, it's estimated that mixed plastics is down again to 215, and that obviously has an impact on any income dividend that we get back from our recycling, and therefore has an impact on budgets. This slide is the contamination rate for a 3-year period, which is gauged by our H.W. Martin recycling processor. And as you can see, the February 22 spike was at the start of the Coventry driver strike, and where the contamination rate increased significantly from 18.9% to 33.7%. And as you can imagine, that will have an impact on not only our recycling credit income from county, but also on our contamination disposal rates. So these really haven't recovered since the strike. I know that Coventry have undertaken training on the back of the sort of the strike being resolved, but we're still seeing presentation and contamination at a higher level than pre-strike. So we'll be working with Coventry further on that as the contract progresses. Street cleansing, we've kept this slide in because we made a commitment to undertake a review of the street cleansing last year. We started a new system of monitoring which was based loosely on the NI 195 government statistic model. We implemented it, and then we had excuse me, a number of resource reductions, principally John, who's there, who was looking after this. We've left it on because we see that as a very important part of what we're looking to do in waste management. We've already started to review the current routes now, and we've included it in the Building a Better Borough, because we see street cleansing as being key, especially when the nighttime economy improves in Nuneaton, and we need to be ready to respond to that over a longer period, and certainly more targeted and responsive service. Bulky waste collections, as you can see, in 21-22, the gradual take-up of bulky waste has sort of increased inexorably. This is because our service is very, very competitive compared to our competitors, and was meaning that we weren't even in a break-even situation. It was costing us to go and collect bulky waste. So at the new pay modelling discussions, we felt that we needed to be more representative of the costs that we incur on the service, and we decided that a standard charge, which plus £3 per item, was a very sort of still a competitive price, but will enable us to structure our bulky waste with the resources that we've got more effectively, because at the moment I'm sure everybody would realise that we had a 6 to 8 week backlog because of the amount of bulky collections we were incurring. Fly tipping cases, as you can see, the amount of fly tipping cases reported have gone down. We'd like to think that the reason for that is we undertook a new enforcement contract early last year with district enforcement. We remodelled our enforcement, in-house enforcement, where we tupied one of the officers from the previous incumbent to work on our fly tipping cases. So therefore, we hope that with the education initiative that we've undertaken in-house, the cases reduction shows the hard work that's been undertaken by us where our activity is filtering out into the wider populace, and people are just not taking the chance to fly tip in the borough. And today I had a meeting with other Warwickshire Waste partners, and they are looking closely at the model that we've set, indeed to the point where they are all asking us to present through our contractor, and with a view to taking up that as a Warwickshire-wide initiative in their authorities. So if we look at the enforcement statistics, you'll notice straight away that the 2021 figure for FPN's issues for fly tipping has considerably dropped. That is not because we are not enforcing as stringently as we were. It's because that in legal definitions, there's no legal definition of litter. You are able to issue a littering fixed penalty for any amount of waste. So what we decided to do, because there's a large sort of presence of small 3-bag fly tip, we decided to use the littering fixed penalty for those small, low-level fly tipping incidents, and we would issue the greater fixed penalty for fly tipping or investigations for the larger incidents of fly tipping. So, as you can see, the fixed penalties for littering, that's where I think the supplement is for for the loss of fixed penalties in the larger fly tip statistics. As I say, we work closely with districts, and we focus very much on fly tipping, and we understand that as being one of the highest antisocial behaviour sort of issues in Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council. So under the new contract, we looked at the old model, and we felt that we needed to enter some kind of incentive and income tariff for the fixed penalties that's issued. And as you can see, income from the littering alone has brought in £20,000, and income from waste fixed penalties is £9,800, bringing a total of £30,000 into the local authority. Under the previous contract, that would have been lost, and if we didn't enforce at all, obviously we would have lost that income also. One of the things that we wanted to do was balance out enforcement with education and community engagement. We felt that there's no point beating everybody with a stick. We needed to show proportionality, and which is where we set up a team in enforcement to go out within the public in Nuneaton and showcase what we do, why we do it, how often, and show the benefits of enforcement for everybody. And obviously the offenders who commit crime are causing antisocial behaviour for everybody, and we just look for engagement. And anybody who didn't understand what we were doing, we explained. We gave out free bags, mugs, cigarette pouches, just to show that it's not all about issuing fixed penalties. We are looking to engage, and we've also increased the amount of warnings that we send out, because we realise that some people just don't understand the offence that they've committed, and we felt that if it's in the public interest and we wouldn't benefit from either prosecution or giving them a fixed penalty, we then give them a warning so that they have an opportunity to manage their ways with the information that they required. We are looking to undertake these open day sessions in Bedworth town centres, and we've already been into a lot of schools and done charity litter picks, etc., to spread the word, as it were. This is just a slide on litter bins that obviously elected members want for their constituents in their wards, and it's a finite budget. We've installed 15 dual-purpose bins, one sponsored bin, which we always look to encourage for commercial premises, etc., where there's increased footfall through development or through business development. We've got a conservative estimate of well over 1,000 litter bins out there, and street cleansing obviously undertake the collections. And this is really to show that we do manage the litter bins. We do try to manage the litter that's dropped, and this is the amount of requests that we get for litter bins, and we do our best with what we have, and we are always looking to increase where we can. So this is the slide on our waste transfer station at Gresham Road. This is governed by environmental permit conditions, and the waste ins and out recording are requirements of that permit. We just thought we'd include a slide because the waste transfer seems to get lost in some of these presentations. And we take in waste from housing, street cleansing. We have some amount of hazardous waste, which is managed by the team at Gresham Road. And the disposal of that is governed by or paid for by county, but we are an interim transfer station before the end destination. You may wonder why the waste ins are consistently lower than the waste outs, and there's a number of reasons for this. The waste in, we have waterlogged material, we have street cleansing arisings, they come out through the sweepers. We have a dewatering facility, but when that's loaded, that can be heavier. Sometimes we get material coming into the depot that's not designated as waste until we designate it as waste, i.e. Bins that we would look to recycle. Then we find that they're just not recyclable, so we have to designate them as waste, and they go out as waste. We do have instances where waste is not recorded correctly and we lose that material in, but we have to record it properly going out as part of the environmental permit conditions. Very shortly we start the recharging for repairs and replacements of bins. I think the slide says we spent £100,000 last year on replacements and repairs of bins. It's a growing burden that lots of authorities are taking this decision to charge, especially with large developments, and that we feel that if there's a development in the borough, then the developer should burden the cost for those recycling bins rather than the council. We are mandated by legislation that we don't have to pay, we can charge for bins, and we will look for consistency of recycling receptacles. So therefore, we can't just accept bags and cardboard boxes because people don't want a bin. And we will look to legislation, if we need to, where people are placing waste on the streets. However, we will work with residents, and we will try to explain why this is happening. But ultimately, we have that cost burden that we needed to equalise out. This smart camera, the covert cameras, is one of the most disappointing aspects of last year. We had funding for covert cameras. We went out to a number of providers, most of which wanted extortionate amounts of money just to manage the data. So we went with standalone units, which we've had no end of trouble with, the manufacturers, which ended up in a dismissal at the company. And we had many issues with 4G, which we needed for remote monitoring of the cameras. In short, we've only just got the sign-off for the units ready to be deployed, and we are currently working with legal to set up a framework for the RIPA authorisations. RIPA is the legislation that governs covert cameras. We will be pressing forward with that, as soon as possible. And in fact, all officers have update training on the 18th of May with a view to hopefully getting these deployed in hotspot areas thereafter. Another sort of innovation that we're very proud of is our watercourse management team, which we have now over 20 colleagues that are trained with my colleague here, Jamie, who's oversaw the training and the implementation of the watercourse service. This allows us to enter the watercourses, remove waste. Because it's harnessed, it's arboriculturally based, we can go down embankments to fetch up articles. We're very flexible. It gives us a new approach for waste management. And again, there's a number of local authorities looking at potentially using us to manage the watercourses in their area because it's such a volatile area, and obviously it's laden with risk. Zero tolerance on abuse. I think we're all aware that public sector workers are very vulnerable, and we have a number of incidents where our workers are abused, mostly verbally, but we have instances where it's been physical as well. And we've said enough's enough. So we're setting up a campaign with posters, social media, press releases, whatever we have to do to keep our staff safe. Because ultimately, they're the ones in the front line, and we have to show our due diligence and duty of care to those, and that's ongoing. And hopefully, we're looking to present that as a package, as a scheme, middle part of this year, but hopefully sooner. And we will be potentially dovetailing with North Warwickshire, who are very interested in the exercise. Innovation. This is again, it's in-cab, which we've looked to introduce over the last 12 months. We've had some setbacks with IT, some issues with the tablets. But ultimately, I think the loss in resource and experience in waste and transport over the last year has meant that it's stalled slightly, but we are hopefully back on track now, and we'll be having that fully implemented. Jamie, when do you reckon? So we'll say June, hopefully. Right. Right, so full department, end of year, but waste, bin collections by June. This will give us really it's a real-time in-cab system where we can offset some of the missed bins, we can put messages on, risk assessments, the crews can have a sort of an integrated two-way communication with us, and it's just, and I must pay tribute to our IT section who have built this from scratch. An off-the-shelf bespoke system is many hundreds of thousands of pounds, some of the better ones, and so we're very lucky that our IT have been able to do this for us. And what we do is just a little montage there of the services that we offer, and we'll continue to innovate and grow where we can, and serve the residents of Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council as best we can moving forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you again. Before I move on to the speakers on this, just like to say thank you very much for this report, and for how clear it was, and for how easy it was to understand. It's a real welcome report that members can easily assimilate, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have some public speakers on who've registered to speak on this item. First speaker is Mr. Smith. First speaker is Mr. Smith. You have your 3 minutes to speak to the item of the agenda. Thank you.
Firstly, I'd like to congratulate the frontline staff of the council, the lads that empty the bins and pick the litter up. Generally, brilliant job. They're a credit to themselves and the borough. The problems only come in really is when there's any disruption and management have to do managing. That seems to fail. There's nowhere where residents can go that will tell them when services have been disrupted, when they'll be back to normal. There's nowhere on the council website that people can pinpoint. It's all over social media. Nobody knows what's going on. But the lads are out in the field, brilliant, perfectly. They work great. They're polite. Can't knock them. Do an excellent job. Like I say, it's unfortunate the backup they get from here that fails miserably. On the zero tolerance stuff, maybe if this place wasn't so toxic, it wouldn't spread out into the community. I've tried to deal with this council. Some of the work is brilliant, but the toxic atmosphere in here is obvious from the outside. You can't get hold of these people. Their phone number's been cut off for 2 weeks. So if anybody wants to come, it'd be difficult. Yeah? You try to exclude the public at every opportunity. Every opportunity. Every opportunity you exclude us.
I'm here to speak as a councillor. I want to speak from here, please.
Councillor, you're here as a member of the public at a council meeting. The same as the other members, I've asked you to move to the gallery. If you don't move to the gallery, I'll move on to the next meeting.
I would like to speak to represent my residents, and I've got 3 minutes to speak. I want to speak.
Councillor, I'm moving on to the next speaker. Thank you very much. Rachel, if you would like to speak next, please. Rachel.
Thank you. I just would like to go back to. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is that better? To go back to. I probably don't need it. To go back to the waste and the littering. There seems to be a lot of. So I've heard of like people in other areas as well as this, where a vulnerable person may drop a cigarette butt. You know, what is your clause on that? Do the people that are enforcing these laws, if you like, legislations, shall we call them, to the general public, are they being fair and just, perhaps? Yeah, obviously you've got big fly tippers, you've got people who generally cause a lot of deliberate, you know, but when you've got somebody who's just a bit careless for a day, let's say, are they really in the wrong so much to be fined when obviously the financial situation for everybody is quite high? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes,
No,
we.
if we just do one at a time, otherwise we might get confused. Yeah. Can we just section 3 minutes to each question, and then you reply, and then I can have the rest of my minutes? Could you remember that then and answer me in a minute? Or would you like to answer that?
Yes, certainly. We do take into account vulnerable people, and we do have an ability to review fixed penalties that we feel may have been issued in error, and we have overturned many fixed penalties for that reason. However, being careless for a day is not mitigation for dropping litter or any kind of waste, unfortunately, and obviously, you know, that impacts on the street cleansing and the employees that we employ for, you know, the collection of that. So, but the answer is yes, we do.
Thank you. That was one. Yeah, I'm very interested in the educating the young as well, but also on the vulnerable people. I've noticed you said about the change of the royal name you would like, and you did mention it's where the army come. The army march by, etc. So the vulnerable.
Sorry, that wasn't me.
The wrong question at the wrong time. Oh, could I submit that at a later date for him? But yeah, I didn't really finish my question. I think. Yeah.
Sorry, sir, you're not registered to speak. So I can't take you. If the ladies would like to finish.
Yeah, it wasn't really. Maybe it was. I forgot it's gone. So on the waste thing, so we're on about recycling all the time. Recycling. So we're missing a word, which is reusing. Okay. So like in Italy, they have hubs where they call them creative hubs, where any industrial waste, you know, we're thinking more. For creative uses is used. So everybody, the schools, the nurseries, artists, etc. People generally being creative is lovely. Is there something you could perhaps look at that? And also, I do know I've met a very wonderful inventor who's invented a method of dehydrating plastics off metals. So with that, you're then getting your dehydrated plastics. You can then mix with cement, use for building, etc., whatever. But also then it grades the metal, so it stays like a second-degree metal that then you can then use. Would I be able to speak to you about him and perhaps the ideas and your innovations for ideas that you've mentioned? Thank you.
You certainly can. The sort of the disposal, the end product is managed by.
Sorry. Joshua, could you just 1 minute, please? Thank you. Sit down. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're the collection authority, so we collect the waste. The county are the ones that dispose of the waste and use and sort of explore avenues for different uses of recycling materials. But if you would like to send some information over, I can make sure that the relevant people get that so that it can be, you know, considered.
Perhaps we can have a chat at the end. That would be very
Yeah, well, I should be going after this, but
Oh, you're knocking off?
no, yeah.
Okay,
But
thanks. There's more. I don't know if I have time. You did say, oh, that was about the army. Yeah, so it was about the army, rather than the change. You mentioned that, obviously, we're putting army on a pedestal, that they're protecting us and our nation. And then I hear of, due to antisocial behaviour, yeah, a veteran has been evicted from his property. So, you know, what degrees are the antisocial behaviour? What's the remit for that? Now, I'm actually taking up some of the
Can you
antisocial
please come to the end? Your 3 minutes is up.
Destruction of people's lives, and I'm trying to do your duty of care to protect them and put their case forward because they're not being heard. Yeah. So what is it in place?
Rachel, if I could just stop you for a second, this is not to do with the waste management report.
That will do. Thank you. I
Thank
think
you.
I've had my 3 minutes.
Many thanks.
Can I speak about that if I stand here?
Could we answer? Oh yeah. Don't think you need to say that.
Councillor Condacor, yes, you can speak.
It does, because otherwise it's not on video.
You mentioned that for me.
Right, Mr. Chair, if I stand here, you allow me to speak. I want to speak for 3 minutes about recycling and waste. Firstly, river clearing, really good. We've had the team out in Wellington, and that's something we need to do a lot more of and have lots more resources. We mentioned lost caddies and lost bins. We've got a major problem with the recycling caddies going into the back of the recycling lorries. I lost my bin, the insert, and 6 other people lost their paper recycling caddies because it got into the back of the waste bins, lorries, which means you've then got contamination. Our crews need better training. And then for green waste, on the Belware estate, a whole green wheelie bin went into the back of one of our refuse trucks, and they didn't tell the resident. So the resident put on social media, "Where's my green bin?" And someone nearby had a doorbell camera, and they saw it going into the back of one of our trucks. That clearly contaminates the whole load, and you don't have the courtesy of telling people that their bin has been lost because it's gone into the back of one of our trucks. Accidents happen. We're not blaming the crews. What we want to happen is someone to actually tell the household so they're not chasing it up. Fly tipping. Absolutely appalling, the fly tipping. I cycled down Bedworth Woodlands a month ago. Every inch of that road was covered in fly tipping. We have a serious problem. And it's sort of the whole road. It's not just report an incident. Some of the roads in more rural areas, like Bedworth Woodlands and Stony Road, etc., are just covered with fly tipping. So we're totally failing to tackle fly tipping. And it's an absolutely crazy idea to use littering FPNs for people who fly tip. We need to be getting serious on fly tipping, not going soft. I'm worried about the lack of data, the drop of green bin users, and bulky waste. The whole reason the council had a really good bulky waste system is to reduce fly tipping. And I'm really disappointed we had 8 weeks delay on it, and we should be doing everything possible to collect as much bulky waste as possible so that we get less fly tipping and we provide a service to the public. I understand it has to be paid for, and you might need to look at your charges, but we really need bulky waste as an absolute key environmental benefit for our council. The other thing we kept saying we're going to do is redo the collection rounds. More and more housing, Wellington, every year, come September we'll redo the rounds, or come July. We still haven't sorted out the recycling rounds and collection rounds, and some of our bin lorries are 10 years old. We've spent a fortune replacing housing department vans, which have only done 17,000 miles, and yet we've got bin lorries that have done about 150,000, 10 years old bin lorries, still on the road. So I'd like to know why we're replacing vans that aren't in need of replacing, but we're not replacing our bin lorries. I'll now walk down and sit in the gallery where councillors are allowed to sit. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Glenn, would you like to answer any of those points?
Yeah, only just to pick up. Yeah, we fully understand that our crew members should be notifying residents when they have been lost, so that we can make arrangements to replace. We absolutely accept that bulky waste is an important waste stream for residents and the council. And yes, obviously the housing vans are replaced out the HRA fund. Our general fund, we have a 5-year replacement plan, and obviously the 10-year-old vehicles are the first on that plan to be replaced. It has to be costed, and whilst they're 10 years old, we have a very good maintenance strategy and package where, you know, we look after our vehicles very very nicely. So, point taken, councillor.
Okay, I'll now throw this open to any councillor to raise any points they wish to on this report. Councillor Watkins.
Yeah, thank you, Glenn, for that report. It's very clear. There's just a few things I'd like to comment on. I was quite surprised about the fly tipping figures, because I know that we've recently done considerable amount of work on the ringway and found, well, last time I asked it was 12 tonne of fly tipping, and there is a lot more that needs reporting, especially along the bypass going towards Coventry. It's absolute disgrace. I'm obviously not going on at you, because this is people that do the fly tipping. It's just that there is a lot of fly tipping around this borough at the moment. The bulky goods, and I'm sure that you will know about this, but there's going to be new regulations coming in soon. The correct disposal of pops, where it'll cost £100 to get rid of a fridge freezer, £100 for a fridge. So I'm expecting that we won't be able to keep up the costs that we charge at the minute, and so I'm expecting fly tipping to go up even more when these new regulations come in. But I'm not quite sure of the date, but I'm almost sure that you will do. And the last thing is that we don't do anything about recycling of electrical goods. Even if we could have some areas within the town centres where we could dispose of our electrical goods, maybe for recycling, it might get away from fly tipping as well and things like that. So I'm not sure that if you've ever looked at anything like that, but I think in the town centres, I know that I have been asked this before. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, just in response, sorry, Chair. We are working with Warwickshire County trying to improve our waste reception, and you know, we understand that, you know, is an important part of that. So wherever we can, you know, improve and increase our waste reception, we'll certainly endeavour to do that.
Sorry, ma'am, but this is for councillors now. You've had your chance to speak on this item. Any other member wish to raise any points on this report? Councillor Downs.
Thanks, Chair. I've got one question on the public red bins that you've got everywhere. We see loads of reports of them overflowing and rubbish underneath. First of all, what's the schedule for emptying them? And also, is there something on there that like people can phone, or a website that can go on to report it full and overflowing? Is there something that we can possibly do to get them emptied earlier, a shorter period? Yeah, that's all it is. Thanks.
Yeah, so we've recently took a rerouting of our cleansing routes, which has just happened now. We're bedding that in, which is going to be a 3-month period. Following that 3-month period, we're going to do a review to make sure the routes actually work. Historically, there's been bins. It's just something that's not been done up until now. So there's bins all over the borough that we know where they are, the crews know where they are. There's not necessarily a database. So in line with our in-cab that we are bringing into the department, we're going to be building a database that will show where all the street litter bins are, which will then allow our workforce to highlight and show the public when that bin was serviced and what was done with that bin, whether that was just emptying or a maintenance or a check on that bin. It will then also give the public and customer services the opportunity to be able to raise specific problems with bins. We do have that now where people are saying the bin, for instance, the bin that is on Lutterworth Road, but I can tell you that there's 5 bins on Lutterworth Road, so it doesn't really tell us a lot. So it's a waste of resource. So what we're looking at doing is to identify the bins as an individual asset number where residents will be able to click on effectively a Google Maps sort of system, say this bin needs some care and attention, and then therefore we'll be able to respond to those inquiries a little bit better, because sometimes we are getting inquiries, but we just the detail that certain members of the public give us aren't accurate enough for us to answer those. In terms of the frequency, it varies very dramatically. There are some bins that we are emptying once or even twice a day because we know that that's the frequency. Other bins, we know that we only need to go to once a week because the footfall is very different, and it depends on the seasonal. You're talking during school term time, out of term time, everything varies, but our crews are quite good at knowing that. But if the public do mention this to us, we will go out and try and attend that, but that's obviously that's an ad hoc where everything is scheduled, so anything that does come in, we will tend to at the earliest opportunity, but there is plans in place within the next 12 months, if I'm being realistic, to have something that's going to be a lot more technology based, but also a bit more accurate for the public to be able to give that, and then therefore giving the data and the trail to show what we've done, how we've done, and how we've then progressed onto it.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Wright.
Okay. Thank you for that report, Glenn. Couple of small points I'd like to clarify. On page 26, the graph there, I noticed that the figures for littering and waste are identical from February through to June. Is there some sort of glitch there? The money received by the borough from district contract profit share. The figures for February through to June seem to be identical for littering and for waste. I assume there's some sort of glitch there.
This really is dependent on what's issued at the time. Generally speaking, the waste fixed penalties that are issued are via our officer, and the littering are generally via district. I can certainly check if there's an issue with the data.
Yes, I mean it seems highly improbable that they'd be so identical for 5 months in succession. So, but I mean it seems a strange coincidence. But yeah, it could just be a glitch, or it could be coincidence. Thank you. And another point, I've got the number of FPNs issued. Do we have any statistics on the number that have actually been paid?
Yes, we do.
Ah.
Sorry, if we take that, not actually here.
Yeah.
We do have a breakdown of fixed penalties that are paid as a percentage. I know the percentage is roughly between 60 and 65% generally.
Right.
If the member would like me to get some statistics on that,
Then.
send them.
Yes, that would be ideal. Thank you very much. And is the percentage similar for littering, or?
Yeah, it's roughly, littering is more 60-65%. The flighty thing, I think, more representative of about 45-50%. Generally because it's a higher fixed penalty, and this is where the littering fixed penalties that are unpaid are that go through the magistrate process under SJP, which is the single justice procedure, which is easier.
Mm-hmm.
Flighty offence is an either way offence, so it's a guilty or not guilty. So that is a sort of a more considered approach through the courts. So I can certainly get the information, but I think that's roughly about 50% that we have paid through the fixed penalty.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Just one other small point. I notice on page 18, you did mention the figures for 23 were the same as the figures for 22.
Yes.
No, so presumably those are provisional figures, right?
Well, I think the green waste.
Yes, yes. The green bin stickers, yes.
The 22 figures were duplicated for 23.
Yes.
The actual 82, because we start these subscriptions in October.
Yes.
So the actual figures for October to yesterday, effectively, are 20,319. And we're expecting, because it's up to March, we're expecting April, May, June, July to have more subscriptions through the year, which we think will bring in line indicatively with the other years.
Yeah. So the total for 23, that's an estimate.
Well, no, it's not an estimate. It's just a duplication. Those figures shouldn't have been in there because we don't have them. They could fluctuate. So we will know more about those figures later on in the year.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
It was an error.
Yeah. These things happen. Yes.
Thank you. Any other member?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Any other in which case, if no other members got anything to say, I've got a couple of points I'd like just to clarify quickly. Yeah, I have a couple of points. Are we suffering any serious service failures due to using these older vehicles?
No.
Thank you. Secondly, the charging for bins that are damaged by residents or lost by residents, the cost that we charge, am I right in understanding that is the cost of the bin, effectively? We're not making a profit on it?
Cost of the bin and the administration of that's it.
Thank you. In which case, thank you for the report and duly noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for my colleagues.
Thanks again. So we now move on to item number 8, the integrated performance report for the third quarter. This was circulated to members in advance and a request for questions because we don't have Steve Gore here to present the report. So we've all had a chance to see it. If members have got any specific questions, then we can take a note of them and obviously you can get answers. You're here for, I think we've got somebody here for part of this report, have we?
Yes, did you want to do public speakers first?
I'm going to do the public speakers now, yes. So we have 3 speakers listed again. So the first speaker again is Mr. Smith.
Sorry,
For integrated performance report.
send me a note.
Mr. Smith, yes, if you could just have you hit your
It's for the agenda item 8. Agenda item 8.
Sorry?
Agenda item 8, the integrated performance report. You've got your 3 minutes. Yes.
Mr. Smith, yes, your 3 minutes. If you could please give us 3 minutes on the item and what's on the agenda.
Right, obviously Mr. Gore's been given the Cabinet's edit of any information that comes out of this place. The freedom of information system doesn't work. Who sets the criteria for what gets knocked back? It's a big portion of stuff that's refused, yeah? No information on what. The housing department is absolutely shocking, yeah? I've been waiting for a call back for 10 days for a client that I'm helping with his issues, a vulnerable person, yeah? And he's not the only one, through court dealings. Court dealings where this housing department seems to deem it fit to put it into the press, yeah, when they've evicted a vulnerable veteran as some sort of badge of honour. Like I say, Mr. Gore's clearly not been given all the information he needs. This is just an exercise for the stakeholders and partners. When do the residents get any input? Yeah, there's no input from the residents ever. We're excluded constantly. Yeah, you're still on COVID restrictions. Yeah, you still need an appointment. There's thousands of people out there who'd love to come into their council, but you exclude them, and it don't look like you're going to open it up anytime soon. Yeah? There's a lot of problems in this council. Like I say, the toxic atmosphere caused in this town comes from here. Yeah? They're not here tonight, the main culprits. Yeah? But this toxic atmosphere in this town is coming from this chamber and the people running it. Thank you very much, love.
Thank you.
Councillor Kenner?
Thank you very much, Chair. Just a quick question on the FOIs. Just wondering if we've received an increase in the number of FOIs sent to the council.
Hi, good evening. The quick answer is yes. And if I was to kind of have a look at the main reasons or the drivers behind the number of increases, it would be where we've had, let's call them hot topics. So, for example, the Civic Hall, the skate park, the lily pad fountain, for example, have generated quite a number of foyers over and above that we normally receive. We've also got a number of residents that now use an external platform called whatdotheyknow.com, and this is encouraging legitimately residents to ask FOIA questions, but it's making it easier for them. So I think those would be the main drivers, the kind of hot topics that happen, and also the kind of stuff that's available online now to help you to deliver a FOIA. But yeah.
Just wanted to ask what impact you believe this is having on officers not only being able to process other FOIs, but being able to, deliver their or perform their jobs on a day-to-day basis with the increase in FOIs. Thank you.
It's really difficult for me to answer that question because I don't actually answer FOIs. I think in some ways, so if you don't know me, I'm the DPO and the customer experience officer. So an integral part of my role is to facilitate the completion of FOIAs and complaints. So the fact that I'm in position, I think, so I'll trawl through FOIAs and complaints and make sure that all the requests are genuine, they've been allocated to the right person. We've done a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that all of the software works properly. We've got all the checks and balances in place. So in terms of the requests going to the correct officer, I think we've done a lot of work to make sure that happens. I also do a weekly sort of crib sheet almost that goes out that says these are due on this day. I'll remind officers in plenty of time. So in terms of that prompting, I think they get everything that they need to get. But there is an issue, I know, in some particular service areas where they do get swamped. So the Civic Hall would be a great example. I know that on one particular day, Leisure and Culture got 16 FOIs, and these weren't simple questions. These were quite convoluted, complicated, detailed questions that needed to be answered. So all in all, I think normal business. I think there's enough time and resource in there with me now in position to get stuff done. I think when we get hot topics and things of interest, I think maybe we need to look at helping certain service areas to deliver to the statutory SLA.
Any other member? Councillor Green.
Good evening. Is there any restriction to how many FOIs that a member of the public can put in, or can they continue to waste taxpayers' money on a permanent basis?
Very good question. So, yes, there is. The Information Commissioner's Office, which we use as our benchmark and guidelines, there is an exemption that you can apply around vexatious requests. However, they're very reluctant to put a number on that figure. So you can't say that if a person or an organisation puts 30 requests in a week, that becomes vexatious and you can issue a refusal notice. It's down to the local authority. So there is a strap line that says you're not to place an undue burden on an authority. And we have got an instance at the moment where we are sending out a letter to a person that's put 29 FOIAs in the last 12 weeks and has got 3 currently on the system. We have issued a refusal notice to a resident. So this resident put 16 FOIAs in 3 days. The challenge would be, if that goes to the Information Commission, we've got to stand behind that decision and be able to describe why that puts an undue burden on our local authority. Now, I am the information governance team, as just me, so we've got a good case there. We haven't got a big team of people like Coventry or other big authorities. But yeah, we do, I mean, I look at and track all of the requests, and if there is an issue, I do flag it to Tom, Director, who's the Senior Risk Information Officer. But yeah, we have, so for the first time, we have actually issued refusal notices where it does become vexatious.
Thank you.
Any other member on this one? In which case, I have one question to also on FOIAs as it happens. Have we been in a position where we've had to, where an inquiry has crossed the threshold where we've had to charge for it? Or have we come close? So, yeah, basically, what the rule is that there's an appropriate limit that's set, which is 18, I don't like the phrase, it's 18 man-hours. This is the Information Commission's wording, not mine. So if it takes more than 18 man-hours to answer a request, then we can charge for it. And where we've had instances where when we've scoped out the request, it will take longer than that. I have issued a charge notice to the requester and said it will cost this amount of money. So really, basically, it's for every hour over and above the appropriate limit, it's £25 that we can charge. And every one of those requests that have asked for a charge, the requester has then said, no, I don't want the information. I do offer a service where if the request is big and cumbersome and it's going to take 36 hours, let's say, to pull together, then I can work with the requester to say, if we took out this bit or you didn't ask for information for this year, then it would come under the appropriate limit. But again, everyone that I've wrote to where it's over the appropriate limit has kind of declined their FOIA request. So it is something that we do use now, which again we've not really used before, and it does put off big cumbersome requests. Legitimately, of course. Thank you very much. If there are no... Councillor Wright, sorry, I hadn't seen you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. On page 45 about recycling, I noticed the target for the current year is actually less than the performance for the last year. Is there any reason why we're setting such an unambitious target? Yes.
If no other members got any other questions, then report duly noted. Thank you, and we can move on to item number 9, which is the this panel's annual report. Many thanks, John. I'm going to present this. Right. Well, here we go. Well, it's in the report. We've all seen it. We have 3 listed public speakers on this. 2 of them are no longer here. So, Rachel, you have 3 minutes to speak on the annual report, should you wish. We'll get the microphone to you.
If you don't use the microphone, your question's not recorded.
Yeah, I have to find my question. As I did mention earlier about, so I'd say I've been supporting some, I don't know if I'm on topic now, forgive me, but antisocial behaviour officers, can we talk about them on my own script? Because they seem to be given a little bit too much power without perhaps duty of care and listening and supporting vulnerable people.
Sorry,
I'm not on script, am I?
You, but we're talking about the annual report. We're talking about the annual report of this panel, which is not really what you're speaking about.
In this, yeah, I thought I was on script with that question. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not on script, so I'll leave you. Thank you for accepting me into your boudoir.
Thank you very much for your contributions tonight. It's quite interesting. One, two, three. Everybody happy with the forward plan? Everybody happy with the forward plan? Yes, Chair. Any comments on the forward plan? Thank you. By the same token, the work programme, which is at item 11. Any comments? And I've had no notification of any other important business that has, by virtue of its urgency, to be discussed tonight. Therefore, thank you one and all for your...
Yeah, Chair, I noticed that the form they're offering is not on the work programme.
Excuse me, sir, I didn't hear. Right. Can we bring it to the next meeting?
Yeah. If you do an extra review, do you want to bring it in there or at the next one?
Let's bring it to the next possible meeting that we can fit into.